People are in love with this rescue dog that looks like Baby Yoda, and an interview with owner. Most people love cute animals. It's an unwritten internet law that no one ever questions, especially when presented with the cutest cat memes and puppy pics. Many people are also big fans of the Star Wars franchise. Even those who've never seen the movies are aware of one meme that took the internet by storm just a few years back, and has stayed popular ever since. That's right, you guessed it, it's none other than Baby Yoda. What if we told you we found someone that can tick both boxes? Combine a cute cuddly puppy in Star Wars and you get Dixie. Here's a doggy that people can't help but compare to Baby Yoda. Why, you might be thinking? While it's not the pea-green black-eyed creature Mandalorian fans have come to love, Dixie's real highlight is the proportion of her ears. It's all thanks to those fluffy ears that are way too big for her head that had people pointing out the similarities. All we can say without a doubt is those are right on. Of course, to find out a little more about the dog that took over the internet, Bored Panda reached out to Dixie's owner Danielle. How and when did Dixie become a part of your life? Is there a story behind that? I got Dixie summer of 2009. She was 6 months old when she became part of the family. I was 13 at the time. She has a whole story. I'll attach it at the bottom, but in short, she was living outside at a friend of my brother's. The landlord told him to get rid of her as they weren't caring for her properly, so he brought her home to live with us. She came with the name Dixie. My parents were hoping a dog would teach us responsibility, and she and I quickly became best friends. What's Dixie's personality like? What makes her who she is? Dixie has a very strong personality. She's stubborn, sassy, and persistent. If she doesn't want to do something, she isn't going to do it, but that's what gives her all the charm. I was always told she was half GSD, half bloodhound, which I 100% believe. However, she's never been DNA tested. She's very lazy, she has a high prey drive, she loves food and has a very expressive face and ears, obviously, with very sweet, soulful eyes. She demands pets and butt scratches, but she'll get up and leave if you try to snuggle her. It didn't take long before people dug up similarities between the little green creature, aka Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian, and the 12-year-old mutt whose ears make her Baby Yoda's look-alike. We noticed you have other dogs too. Are they rescues as well? Can you tell us about them? Yeah, I have 3 dogs in total, all rescues. Dixie came first, she's 12. Muda is second, she's a 2-year-old pit mix, and Alfalfa came last. He's a 4-year-old chocolate lab. Muda is more commonly known as Moo and is a 2-year-old pitty. I adopted her at 3 months old. I found her on the side of the road while walking Dixie. She came right up to us and followed us home. She had a respiratory infection and was really skinny. My boyfriend Dorian is the one that named her. He's Filipino and Muda is the Tagalog word for eye boogers. It started as a joke when we'd clean her boogies out of her eyes, and we would say Muda over and over while we cleaned her face, and it just kinda stuck. She's a wonderful dog, super sweet with all dogs and people. She even does agility and knows a ton of tricks. Alfalfa is a 4-year-old chocolate lab. He's more commonly known as Alfie. I adopted him in the summer of 2020. I'm a dog trainer, and pre-COVID I worked for a company that did live rescue animal show that was contracted in different theme parks around the country. When COVID happened, all the contracts were canceled and the company closed. He was my favorite dog from the show and I brought him home to be a part of the family. He's also a wonderful dog. We go hiking and swimming together. Does Dixie get along with the other dogs in your family? Yeah, she does. She's the most bonded to Moo. They're in love with each other, she cleans her face and they cuddle together, they wrestle and play too. Dixie likes Alfie too, but's nowhere near as bonded to him as Moo. Dixie and Alfie just sorta coexist. Dixie also has a brother named Skyner who lives in Virginia, where we're from, but she hasn't seen him in a few years. How did you come up with the idea for a TikTok and Instagram for your dogs? I made Dixie an Instagram in 2017 just as a place to share photos of her and follow other dog accounts. I got the inspiration from the page Dogs of Instagram. I thought it would be really cool to get her on their page. And once I got Muda, I made her one too, then Alfalfa. Honestly, if I would have known I was gonna end up with 3 dogs, I would have just made one account for the 3 to share. My best friend Delaney is the one who convinced me to get a TikTok. I had never been on the app before October 2020, and when I went to visit her, she kept telling me I should make one. 6 months later and we have 100,000 followers. And we can definitely see the resemblance. Dixie is so popular that she already has over 100,000 followers on TikTok thanks to a video that went viral recently. How did you feel when Dixie went viral on social media? Honestly, I thought my app was glitching at first. I made a video of a trend and then posted it and went to bed. My phone kept vibrating on my nightstand and I thought something was wrong, but it wasn't. It was her TikTok blowing up. I felt like a little kid at Disney World. Not so much for the popularity for me, but because so many people loved her. It makes me so happy to see people loving my dogs as much as I do. I want to keep growing as much as possible. Our goal is 1 million followers and to be verified. I'd also love to have Dixie be a model on products or a billboard or commercials or something. We have dreams as big as our ears, but we're also humble and happy and grateful we've made it this far. Do you have any funny stories to share about Dixie or your other dogs? I have lots of stories. Like when Dixie was a puppy, she was a nightmare. She was really destructive and super crazy. She'd destroy our house, chew through walls, eat the couch, etc. We crate trained her though, which fixed the problem for when we weren't home. Alfie broke the sprinkler system at our condominium. They were testing the sprinklers and he loves water. I was letting him play in the sprinklers and when they turned them off, he bit the sprinkler head, breaking it, and water was gushing everywhere. I had to call the company to shut off the water at our complex to fix it. Oops. Moo is a plant murderer. I can't have any sort of plants. She has a vendetta against them and thinks they all must die. She'll pull them out of their pots and shake them, flinging dirt everywhere. What's your favorite thing about Dixie? Honestly, I like everything. She's my best friend. She and I have grown up together. I was 13 when we got her. I'm 25 now. We've gone through so much together, so many different stages of life. Her ears are awesome, but her eyes really get me. She's older now and starting to slow down, but she's always up for anything, even if it takes her a little longer, or she tires out a little faster. She's always down to do anything and everything. How do you feel about the whole "this dog looks like Baby Yoda" thing? I think it's so funny. I always forget how big her ears are, actually, compared to the rest of the dogs on Earth. I think it's so funny that people come up with in relation with her ears. We get the Flying Nun a lot, Scooby-Doo, Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven, Dobby, and Mogwai from the Gremlins. Also, the comments we get make me die. That dog can hear your thoughts. Does she fly? That's not a dog, it's an airplane. The comments people come up with are so funny. We love reading them. Dixie's the love of my life, and I'm so thankful I'm getting the chance to share her with the rest of the world. Her unique ears have earned the hearts of many, and we can't wait to continue to share them with the world. Danielle also shared the story of Dixie's life that was written by the coffee company Mutt's Coffee. It's undeniable what the first thing is that people notice about Dixie do: her ears. Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven, Gizmo from the Gremlins, Yoda from Star Wars, Scooby-Doo, Bertrill from the Flying Nun. These are just a few from a long list of comparisons that people will say Dixie Doo's ears remind them of. And having a dog with remarkable ears is bound to win over the hearts of many on social media. Dixie Doo, who has her very own P.O. box to keep up with her fan mail and has become an internet sensation in recent months on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where her videos have been watched over 6 million times. A recent letter from a fan reads, "Greetings from Portland. Thank you for sharing our dog's lives with us. Our sweet boy died in June. It's been tough, but following dogs on Instagram has been comforting. Dixie, we can't wait till you take flight." And included in the letter a beautiful black and white drawing of Dixie. But behind those larger-than-life ears and remarkable smile is a dog who's touched the hearts of her family for the last 12 years. A dog that can pull off a pretty dramatic plate den trick. A dog that likes to sneak bits of Pop-Tart crust, her absolute favorite treat, from her owner Danielle. A dog who's pretty low-key most of the time and enjoys long naps on her dog bed. And a dog who shares her space with a few other rescues. Muda, a 2-year-old rescue pit bull, and Alfie, a 4-year-old chocolate lab. But Dixie's more than a dog with incredulous ears, she's also a fighter. Her story began 12 years ago on a cold January winter night, somewhere in the mountains of West Virginia on a farm where her mother gave birth to a litter of puppies. Not a whole lot is known about the conditions that night, but one thing we do know is that Dixie Doo was the only puppy to have survived the cold. Her litter mates had all succumbed to the elements. We also know that Dixie Doo's mom was a German Shepherd and that her dad was a bloodhound. Dixie Doo ended up being taken by a friend of the family around 6 months of age, but after a few days that friend had a change of heart about keeping Dixie Doo and handed her over to Danielle's brother, who was a teenager at the time. Danielle's brother snuck Dixie Doo into the family home in the middle of the night, and a few hours later, Danielle remembers being woken up to the question of, "Danielle, what's in the living room?" by her father. Full of excitement, 13-year-old Danielle ran out of her bedroom and into the living room, where she laid eyes on Dixie Doo for the first time. "Dad, that's a dog, can we keep her?" she asked. And as these things sometimes go, one parent's on board with a new sudden addition, while the other remains ambivalent. And when you have teenagers, that place of apprehension is a place of knowing that you yourself will have to walk the dog, feed the dog, and care for the dog when the jazz of a new dog eventually wears off and the teenagers go back to their normal teenage lives. So for mom, it was a hard no. But Danielle was determined to change her mom's mind. Dixie Doo had come with the name Dixie, and Danielle's mom took a liking to the name, so Danielle's logic was that if her mom got to decide on the name, she'd eventually come around to the idea of keeping the dog. And she did. Danielle's mom eventually turned that hard no into a soft yes, and it was official. Dixie was now a member of Danielle's family. The Doo part of Dixie's name came later on as a reference to the beloved cartoon character Scooby-Doo, and Danielle says that on most days she calls her Doo more than Dixie. Danielle's now 25 and has a little family of her own, which Dixie Doo is the most senior member of. She says that Dixie has changed her life, not only because Dixie was her first dog and her first major responsibility, but also that Dixie's gentle demeanor and friendliness towards everyone she meets is a model of behavior that Danielle herself tries to strive towards. Recently, Dixie's family moved to Florida, and that's where she and her other rescued siblings have been living ever since. We asked Danielle what she'd like people to take away from Dixie Doo's story, and this is what she said. "I'd like you to take away that she's adopted. She has a rough past. We worked through some things, but I now couldn't have a more perfect dog. She's a mutt and has giant ears. Give the goofy-looking ones a chance. Before you go out and buy that sick $5,000 glorified mutt that pet stores are selling that came from a puppy mill, go to a few animal shelters to visit and look around. I promise your new friend will be so loyal, and you're saving a life."